Help me reach 1,000 subscribes. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every comments. Thanks. I never expected love to feel loud all the time. I didn't need constant excitement or dramatic gestures. I thought stability mattered more. Consistency. Choosing each other even on boring days. That's how I entered my relationship with Elizabeth. Calm expectations. No illusions. Just commitment. We've been together 4 years, living in a small apartment in Bristol, building routines that felt solid enough to last. I worked long hours managing logistics for a construction firm. She worked in event marketing, surrounded by people, noise, and late nights. We were different, but it worked. Or at least, I thought it did. At first, weekend were ours. Movies, takeaway, walks that went nowhere and everywhere at the same time. She used to say she liked how grounded I was, how I made life feel safe. Somewhere along the way, safe stopped sounding like a compliment. Her world got louder. Mine stayed the same. She started talking about parties the way people talk about opportunities. Like something important was happening without her if she stayed home. I didn't argue. I didn't guilt her. I believed adults could balance things. The first time she chose a party over me, it didn't feel like a warning, just a scheduling conflict. It's only one night, she said, already halfway through her makeup routine. I nodded, told her to have fun, and meant it. But one night became many. Birthdays I wasn't invited to. After parties I didn't belong at. I'd wait up, pretending not to check the clock. When she came home smelling like perfume and alcohol, she'd kiss my cheek distractedly and say, "You should have come." Like it was my fault I didn't fit into that world. I tried adjusting, went out with her friends, smiled through conversations that felt performative, left early so she could stay late, compromised quietly because that's what reasonable people do. But every compromise moved me further into the background. She stopped asking how my day was. I stopped telling her. We existed in parallel, sharing space but not presence. Still I stayed, because leaving over something so undefined felt dramatic, because I believe relationships weren't supposed to be exciting all the time. If this kind of quiet distance feels familiar, tap like so this story reaches people who might need to hear it too. The night everything changed didn't feel important at first. Elizabeth had been planning for weeks. Some exclusive party. Big names. Bigger energy. She stood in the doorway adjusting her jacket while I sat on the couch, tired from work, watching her choose between earrings. I asked casually if she wanted me to come. She didn't even look at me when she said no. It's not really your scene, James. Not cruel, just final, like a decision already processed. I watched the door close behind her and felt something shift. Not anger, something colder. I realized I wasn't being left out by accident. I was being left behind on purpose. Hours passed. Midnight. 1 a.m. 2. I didn't text. Didn't ask where she was. I went to bed alone, staring at the ceiling, understanding something I'd avoided for months. I wasn't competing with other people. I was competing with a version of life where I didn't exist. At this point, I'm curious. Would you have said something that night, or stayed silent like I did? Drop your thoughts in the comments. She came home close to 4. Loud, happy, alive in a way I hadn't seen in years. She didn't notice I was awake. Slipped into bed and fell asleep without a word. In the morning, she rushed out again, already late, already gone. No apology, no explanation. That was the moment I decided to stop explaining myself too. I went to work. I functioned. I planned. Not revenge. Preparation. Over the next few weeks, I withdrew quietly, not to punish her, but to observe, to see if my absence registered. It didn't. She was busy, always busy. So I made a decision that didn't involve confrontation or ultimatums. I finished a project abroad that my company had been offering for years. 2-year placement, higher pay, clean break. I packed essentials only. Left no note, no drama, just absence. If you think disappearing without a fight is strength or cowardice, comment one word: strength or escape. The morning I left, she was already gone. I locked the door behind me and didn't look back. For the first time in a long while, the silence felt honest. If this story made you think of someone who's slowly drifting away, consider sharing it. Some messages land better when they aren't spoken directly. 2 years passed. Life moved forward. I changed, grew, learned who I was without waiting to be chosen. And just when I believed the past was settled, my phone buzzed with a name I hadn't seen in a long time. 2 years earlier, when I vanished, I told myself I didn't need closure. That was mostly true. But when Elizabeth's name appeared on my screen, it still landed like a weight. The message was short. James, I don't know if you'll read this. I just need to talk. Please. I stared at it longer than I expected, then set the phone down and finished my coffee. I wasn't angry. I wasn't eager. I was steady. That felt new. I had moved to Manchester, taken a promotion, built a life that didn't revolve around waiting. New apartment, new habits. I ran most mornings, read at night. I'd learned how silence could be nourishing when it wasn't forced on you. Elizabeth's message didn't disrupt that. It tested it. I replied hours later. You can talk. I'm listening. No meeting. No promises. Her messages came in pieces, like someone testing ice before stepping out. She told me about the parties first, how empty they eventually felt, how faces blurred together. Then about work, how the industry chewed people up. She said she kept expecting me to show up somewhere, arms crossed, unimpressed, grounding the room. She said leaving that night had felt empowering until it didn't. I read without interrupting, noticing how the story centered on her loneliness, not what she'd done. A week later, she asked to meet. I agreed, choosing a quiet cafe near my office. When she walked in, I recognized her instantly and not at all. The confidence was still there, but it was tempered. Less noise, more edges. She smiled like she was bracing for impact. We talked about neutral things first. Weather, cities, time. Eventually she stopped circling and said it. I made a mistake. She didn't dress it up. No excuses. Just that sentence. I nodded, letting it hang. I asked what she regretted. She hesitated, then said she'd mistaken attention for a connection, that she'd traded someone who showed up for a room that never did. That when I disappeared, it felt like freedom until it felt like proof. Proof that I hadn't needed her the way she needed the noise. Her voice cracked, but I didn't rush to fill the space. I asked what she wanted now. She looked relieved by the question, like she'd rehearsed it. Another chance, she said, to do it right. I believed she meant it. I also believed something else had changed. I told her the truth, carefully, that leaving hadn't been a tactic. It was a boundary, that I'd learned not to compete with distractions. That love, for me, required choosing each other when there was something louder calling. She listened. She didn't interrupt. She apologized without bargaining. That mattered. Still, I didn't say yes. I told her regret doesn't rewind time. It reveals it. It shows you what you valued when it was quiet enough to notice. I said I wasn't closed, but I wasn't available to be convinced. Trust would need time, consistency, and humility, not promises. She nodded, tears held back by effort, not performance. We stood to leave. Outside, she asked if I'd ever loved her. I said I had, deeply, and that was why disappearing had been the kindest thing I could do for myself. She accepted that. Finally, we didn't hug. We didn't linger. She walked away lighter and heavier at once. Months passed. We spoke occasionally. Slowly. She showed up on time. She listened more than she spoke. I noticed a difference, but I also noticed myself. I wasn't reaching to be chosen. I was choosing. When I invited her to join me for dinner, it wasn't a test. It was an option. 2 years after I vanished, her regret changed everything, not by pulling me back to who I was, but by meeting me where I become. That was the only place a future could start, and the only place I was willing to stand. We took it slowly with rules and space, letting action speak. Whether it lasted forever didn't matter yet. What mattered was choice made in daylight, not noise. Regret had opened a door, but respect decided whether anyone walked through it. That difference changed everything for us.